Now, The Hunt Palmer Show. You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Wednesday. About half the work week in the rearview mirror. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us. Got Jacob Beck and Cassie Spazali back there on the ones and twos. We're going to start the show with what is going on in the southern part of Texas right now because it is an absolute circus in the college baseball world. Christian Clark from NOLA News is going to talk to us at 2:30 about the NBA draft tonight. Matthew Bruni at 2 o'clock. He read a really good piece for On 3 earlier today, talking about the work that Matt McMahon is doing in the high school recruiting ranks and some of the guys that LSU is getting in for visits and is in the mix for. And it continues to be a really impressive run of high school basketball recruiting for Matt McMahon. So we'll talk a little bit about that with Matthew Bruni coming up at 2 o'clock. It's a What If Wednesday. We got plenty of time for some what ifs. So if you want to fire those away in the Bayou Ford chat or on Twitter at HuntPalmer88, we can certainly get to all of that. But we're going to start with the drama between Texas A&M and Texas. When we left you yesterday, I told you that I did not like Jim Schlossnagle's post-game press conference, that I felt like it hit a nerve because there was something to hit on. I thought he would be the next head coach at Texas, and a couple hours later, that news broke that he was leaving Texas A&M to go to their hated rivals, the Texas Longhorns. And since that point, he has met with the media, and the Texas A&M baseball roster has been absolutely decimated. We will talk about both of those things individually. I want to start with this entire process and the press conference we saw today and what it means. We'll get to the transfer portal side of this in 15 minutes. Jace Lavallette's in the transfer portal. Gavin Grohovic's in the transfer portal. Hayden Schott's in the transfer portal. Caden Kent's in the transfer portal. Like, their whole team's in the transfer portal. What does that mean for LSU? Is LSU in the mix for any of that? We'll do that in 15 minutes. But I want to hit on the meat of this story first. Jim Schlossnagle took this job yesterday, not 24 hours after his team had lost Game 3 of the College World Series. And he took to the podium today, and he had his story. He gives all the plausible deniability that you need, and he knows that he's going to walk through fire for about 4 days, and that he's just going to coast into his final job as a collegiate coach and as a baseball coach at Texas. But his story in his press conference today, for those that have not seen the quotes and have not heard it and weren't paying attention this morning at 11 o'clock when he took the podium in Austin, were very much this. Here's the deal. I talk to Chris Del Conte all the time, which we know to be true. Chris Del Conte and Jim Schlossnagle are best buds. They work together at TCU. They've known each other for 2 decades. They are friends, and they do talk all the time. And so that gives you the plausible deniability. Well, when did he contact you? Well, I talk to him all the time. And say, okay, well, when did you start talking about this job? And because of NCAA rules, Jim Schlossnagle's story is, well, we never talked about the job because Texas had a baseball coach. David Pierce was the baseball coach at Texas until Monday morning. We played on Monday night. After the game Monday, Chris contacted me. We sat down. The decision was made on Tuesday, and here we are. That's the only legal way to do this. But we know that's just not true. Everyone knows that's not true. The writing has been on the wall. They have been in conversations about this very day for weeks and weeks and weeks. It's against the rules, but no one's going to catch him doing it. And so I try to look at this from multiple perspectives. Y'all know I don't like Texas A&M, and it's going to be really, really quick where I don't like Texas. I don't have any scar tissue there yet, so it's not there. But it'll come. They're in the conference. They're right next door. They're going to be powerful and good and obnoxious, and I won't like them in short order. But I'm trying to look at this from every angle I possibly can. And here's the deal. Jim Schlossnagle knew weeks ago that he was going to become the Texas coach. In this process, while it would have been really brutal to the fans of Texas A&M for their head baseball coach to leave for Texas, it wouldn't be like this if Texas A&M had lost in a super regional and he had taken the job 12 days later. This burns so hot because they got all the way to the final. And when you realize they get all the way to the final, I will agree with Jim Schlossnagle on one thing. There's really no good way to do this. You get Texas A&M to the final, there's no good way to go to Texas. That's why yesterday I said, maybe it's one of those deals where the timing just doesn't work. But he said, you know what, we're just going to make it work. And we're going to walk through fire on broken glass for 72 hours where everyone on the internet thinks I'm a complete scumbag. Everyone in College Station despises me for life, and we'll get through that, and then we'll have some official visitors this week, and we'll get some transfer portal guys, and I'll just be the Texas baseball coach for the rest of my career, and we'll leave that in the rearview mirror. And they'll still hate me, but the internet will long forget about it. And that's the decision he made.
Do you think he wanted the team to lose at some point before? No.
I truly believe, and look, you can debate this up and down, and we'll never have an answer out here. People in the circle will know. Like Nolan Cain knows what was going on in that baseball program. I think a lot of the players had a good idea what was going on in that baseball program. But I believe in my core that Jim Schlossnagle wanted to win the national championship. He has been coaching college baseball for 30 years. He wanted to win the national championship on Monday. He was still going to leave, and it was still going to be a massive story and an absolute grease fire on the internet and wherever else. But at that point, you're there. Go win it.
And it actually it obviously worked. I think it works out better for him in terms of what Texas A&M fans will think of him afterwards, because I feel like it would be one of those situations where they'll still be really pissed that he left, but like 10 years,
they'd hate him forever.
Yeah.
They would hate him forever.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Even though he won them a national championship.
If he left to become the head coach of the manager of the Chicago White Sox, they would be like, damn, that sucks, but thanks.
So do you think they're going to So do you think are you saying that they would hate him even more than they're going to now if he had won?
I think it's about the same.
Okay.
It's just utter and complete betrayal. And that was just going to be the case no matter what. But I don't buy the argument that, like, well, he's working against A&M while he's in the uniform. He might have been working against A&M's team for 2025. He was not working against the team for 2024. I would venture to say, without certainty, I can't have any certainty. I'm here in Baton Rouge. He's in Omaha. I would venture to say he was game planning. He was putting together the best plan he could, the best lineup he could. He was coaching. He was making moves. I think he was trying to win. Now, you got A&M reporters saying that he was using burner phones to recruit other players to Texas for next year, and that all may be true. And I think he was working against Texas A&M while he was wearing maroon at the end for 2025. I think he wanted to win the 2024 national championship. And you lose it. And then all of a sudden you bolt, and it's just a ridiculous scene. Now, the other piece that I had a big beef with was in the press conference, the answer he gave to Richard Zane. And I heard Billy Lucci say yesterday that on the way out of the press conference that Jim Schlossnagle went up to Richard Zane after that question was asked and said, "I will never speak to you again," in a very stern tone. And that is just reprehensible behavior by a person in his position. Absolutely inexplainable, inexcusable, and disgusting to act that way for a perfectly reasonable question. I understand the situation. I understand he had just lost the national championship game. And as we said yesterday, very, very clear, he knew that he was leaving, and that's what touched a nerve. But for him to actually have done that is absolutely inexplicable. And he did go to the press conference today and apologize in public to Richard Zane by name today, which is a reasonable step in the right direction, but in no way, in my opinion, excuses that despicable behavior. And I believe that reaction was 40% because he knew it was going. I think it was 60% because he knew that he was 30 seconds away on that podium from getting away scot-free and never having to talk about it. He knew that there was one question left, and if they would have said, what was the mindset in the dugout in the 7th inning when y'all were down 6-1, he could have said, yeah, we thought we were going to win. We had a good attitude. We've come back from deficits all year round. We got confidence in our club, and we just came up one swing short. Thank y'all, and he's out of there, and he's going to Texas. And he wanted to get away without having to answer these questions. And we know that these questions had been mounting for weeks. He has known this for weeks, and he almost got away with it, and he didn't. And that, I think, is what made him so mad, so irritable, so aggressive in his answer, and so reprehensible coming off the stage saying that to a young reporter who asked a reasonable question.
And this isn't even the first time I've seen a lot of people mentioning that whenever he was at TCU, people asked him about if he had interest in the A&M job, and he said, I'm interested in being the coach at TCU.
Which is the case. And this furthers my point about press conferences. I live in a world of press conferences. We run sound on this show almost every single day. And sometimes it's really noteworthy, and we played this sound. But the point that I'm making when I paint with a broad brush about press conferences, no matter if it's coach speak or just out-and-out lies about stuff like this, you just got to take stuff with a grain of salt. And I'll tell you, I'll just be blunt, and it's probably not the greatest thing to say for someone who talks into a microphone for a living. But because this is not a situation I would be in. But if I was a head coach, I would pull the Nick Saban. If I was Jim Schlossnagle last night, I would have said, well, because of the way the question was asked, it would have been so easy to say, my future in Aggie Land's so bright, I'm excited about it. But if someone would have asked him before the College World Series started, when some of this stuff was bubbling up, what do you think about the rumors that you may take the Texas job? I would absolutely, as Hunt Palmer, I would go, I'm not taking the Texas job. I'm here at Texas A&M, and we're here to win a national championship. I'm not even going to answer any more questions about that. We've got a championship to win. And I would just leave it at that. That's a lie, but it would shut everything up because you're not under oath. You're not in front of, you haven't sworn in. It's an opportunity to tell half-truths and lies. It's like when a football coach gets up there on Monday and they're playing an FCS team, you go, this is a really good team we're playing. No, it's not. They suck. It's a bad team you're playing. They're collecting a check. You're going to win by 60 points and hope your players don't get hurt in the second half. And that's kind of the situation that he could have put himself in on Monday, but instead he chose to be a jerk. He chose to be a jerk. And I don't approve of that at all. I'm big on treating people right. And that's one of the things that irritates me about Nick Saban is that I feel like so many times in press conferences, he just didn't treat people the way that they should be treated. And being so condescending and egotistical at times, I don't like it. I don't have time for it. I just don't enjoy that, and I don't understand how so many people do that so often. And I don't know anything about Jim Schlossnagle personally. I've never met him one time in my life. But that performance over a 120-second span where he gave that answer and said that to the reporter was pitiful. And he'll get over it because he's going to move on and make a ton of money, and he's probably going to win a lot of baseball games at Texas. But it was a tough scene. And I think that he snapped because he thought he was going to get away scot-free, and it didn't happen. But it's been a fascinating story to follow, and what has happened over the last 90 minutes has been a mass exodus. Well, I shouldn't say that. The opportunity for a mass exodus from LSU's baseball team now exists because basically the whole roster is in the transfer portal. What does that mean for A&M? What does that mean for Texas? What does that mean for LSU? And who could LSU potentially be in on? We'll get to all of that coming up next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
Every shot, every goal, ESPN Bet has fans covered for the biggest moments on the road to the championship. The exclusive sportsbook of ESPN is the only place to find special offers and promotions from your favorite ESPN shows and personalities throughout the playoffs. New users can get a bet reset up to $1,000 in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. Download ESPN Bet today. What a play. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700. In partnership with LeBaron St. Charles. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Elevate brand visibility, ignite customer engagement with the power of radio and digital advertising combined. Guarantee Digital Media brings the two together as a trusted media partner in Louisiana for nearly a century. Claim your free digital audit at guaranteemedia.com.
There's nothing chill about a hot, sweaty line. Unless you add Mountain Cold Refreshment. Coors Light. Choose chill.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is taking $20,000 off new 23 Ram 1500 trucks. We are open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $20,000 off the powerful Ram truck. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 7-year, 100,000-mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency. The light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial properties. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state. Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Wednesday's Hump Day AFR, presented by Pluckers. Jim Schlossnagle leaving Texas A&M for Texas. The domino effects in the portal. How do they impact LSU? We're talking about it. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Just wild news out of College Station in Austin over the last 24 hours. It has been a whirlwind. I've been following Texags. They've done a really, really good job. I thought the questions in the Jim Schlossnagle press conference today were really good. Even the Austin American-Statesman reporter basically kind of said, how do you talk to your players and recruit after this kind of a move? Like, it was a tough question. Like, a lot of people are uneasy about this whole thing. And like I said, like, I don't approve of the way Jim Schlossnagle handled himself in Omaha. And then at this point, when you decide you're going to take the Texas job, like, there is no clean way out. This cannot be done tactfully and with grace and in the way that would appease people in maroon. It just can't. And as Schlossnagle said in his press conference today, like, I can't call a lot of my former players because that's tampering, which we'll get into how much of that's been going on anyway. But it can't be done gracefully on its face. But I thought that he exacerbated it with some of his actions. And if, in fact, he was working for Texas while on the clock at A&M, that's just a tough scene, man. It's hard for me to put myself in A&M's shoes there. I was furious with John Chavis and harbored that until he retired. This is even worse because he's the head coach and he's going to that bigger rival. So let's talk about the transfer portal. I'm going to do an exercise here, Beck. I've watched a lot of Texas A&M baseball over the last 5 months. A lot. I watched them in February. I certainly watched them in SEC play. I watched them a lot in the NCAA tournament. I'm very familiar with their roster, and I can tell you, I'm going to go down the list just in order of their batting average for the season and tell you the situation with this A&M baseball program. Hayden Schott led the team in batting average. He's in the transfer portal. Jackson Appel was second. He's out of eligibility. Caden Kent was third. He's in the transfer portal. Braden Montgomery was fourth. He's going to go in the top 10 in the draft. Jace LaViolette was fifth. He's in the transfer portal. Gavin Grahovic was sixth. He's in the transfer portal. Ali Camarillo was seventh. He's going to go to the draft. Ted Burton, eighth. He's out of eligibility. Caden Sorrell, freshman. He was ninth. He's in the transfer portal. Travis Chestnut was 10th. He is out of eligibility. Max Coffer was 11th. He's in the transfer portal. Jack Bell was 12th. He's in the transfer portal. At this point, you don't have anybody that had more than... Where's my bats? You don't have anybody with more than 35 at-bats that's not in the transfer portal, going to the draft, or out of eligibility. The entire roster from an offensive perspective, gone.
Now, do you think it's possible that if A&M can get a head coach that is, we're expecting
which
A&M,
they will. They're going to get a good
They're
coach.
going to get a coach. Okay, so do you think it's possible that he will be able to bring some of them back?
Absolutely. This is going to turn into a absolute money frenzy in College Station in Austin. Already, with the hiring of Jim Schlossnagle, Texas is stepping up in NIL. This is I can't report that as a fact, but everyone's saying they're going to bring out a war chest. And everyone on the A&M side is saying this has made everyone as a booster so mad and so invested in baseball and so determined to beat Jim Schlossnagle, they're pouring money in. So whoever A&M hauls in, they're going to be able to go to the table and say, hey, we've got money for you too, come on back. It would surprise me if all these guys were gone, did not play at Texas A&M. Now, it would surprise me if none of them went to Austin too. But this is going to be a bidding war of proportions we have not seen in college baseball, in my opinion. I won't be privy to any of those numbers and won't be able to back that up at all. But it just makes too much sense based on everything that we're reporting. This is going to ramp things up a bajillion over in College Station. And by the way, do you think they got a commitment and a signature in a year of baseball from Gavin Grahovic from Southern California for free?
No.
Okay, that money's freed up. Do you think they got Jace LaViolette, who might be the first pick in the draft next year, for free?
No.
Do you think they got all these guys in the transfer portal for free? Braden Montgomery, who's going to be gone? Like, they've got money that they had committed that's now available. So there is money to be spent there. They're going to go get a coach, and they're going to try to figure this thing out. We'll see how many guys follow Jim Schlossnagle from A&M to Austin. There are some people that are frustrated on the A&M side. There are players that are suggesting that they were blindsided. I have no idea how forthcoming he was with any of these guys. Some of them allegedly found out on social media. But I know you, the listener here in Baton Rouge, like, well, who's LSU getting? Can we get LaViolette? Can we get Grahovic? We'll see. I will tell you, Jace LaViolette is from South Texas, and he was committed to LSU and Paul Maneri. He was a big-time recruit. Paul Maneri retired. Nolan Cain moved on to Texas A&M. LaViolette followed him to Texas A&M and enrolled as a freshman. He is very tight with Nolan Cain. I know that for sure. He also tweeted yesterday how much he loves Texas A&M, how he wants to run it back. Anyone in the transfer portal needs to come to the best university in the country, and he's since deleted that tweet and jumped in the transfer portal. That's what we're dealing with in collegiate athletics. I know that so many of you yearn for the days of going to play for Old State U. And in our mind, that's what separates collegiate athletics from professional sports. The college athletes play for their home at most of the time. The college athletes choose where they're going to go and have such an allegiance to it. In professional sports, you jump in the draft. If Chicago or LA or Cleveland takes you, that's where you go. Some people love it. Some people are just there for the cash. And we like to think that's what separates collegiate athletics from the pros. This is a dude who is from Texas, went to A&M, is tweeting his blind loyalty to the school, and then deletes the tweet and jumps in the transfer portal within 24 hours. I don't know Jace LaViolette. I'm sure he's a great kid. But that's the reality of the sport. And we're also living in a reality where guys who played for Texas A&M and saw the varsity's horns off and did the horns down and beat Texas in midweek games in a regional and played for the first national championship in Texas A&M history go right down the street to Austin. That would have been unfathomable at some point. But that's where we are. So can LSU be in on these guys? Sure. I don't know what LSU's NIL situation is. I don't know what the interest of some of these guys is. I don't know if they're in the transfer portal with a do not contact me situation. And I don't know if they're just in the transfer portal so they can evaluate the next A&M head coach and then determine if they want to just come on back. Maybe they're just keeping their options open. There are so many moving parts here, and it's all probably so fresh to some of these guys that we just don't know. But I sent out a tweet about Jay Laviolette earlier, and somebody responded with, "We don't need him. We need that third baseman." I said, wait a second. Jay Laviolette hit 29 homers and plays a great center field and might be the first pick in the draft. I would need him if Dylan Cruz was on the team. I'd just find a spot for both of them. So we'll see. I don't know right now that I would put LSU squarely in the mix for Jay Laviolette, but we'll see. Same thing goes with Gavin Grahovic, who had a monster freshman year. He hit 298 in the leadoff spot. He hit 23 home runs. He was the SEC's freshman of the year. Does he go to Austin? I don't know what his ties are to A&M. He's from Southern California. He might just want to play for Jim Schlossnagle, Nolan Cain, and that staff, and they're all in Austin now. And he might get a big wad of cash to do it. He might be back at A&M. LSU's got some room at third base, I can promise you. And I would love to see Gavin Grahovic there because he's a star. You hear Tony Vitello talking after game one back on Saturday. He was like, I mean, you look at the leadoff hitter they got. I mean, he looks like he plays in the big leagues. He's a freshman. I'd take him. I don't know if LSU's in the mix. Now, I'll tell you this, because I follow Tech Zags. Caden Kent, who, as you probably all know, is Jeff Kent's son. He and Jim Schlossnagle did not see eye to eye. He spent a lot of time in the doghouse and honestly did not get a chance to really break out until Braden Montgomery broke his leg. And then Caden Kent was inserted and had obviously a monster postseason. He drove in 13 runs between the Supers and Omaha. He's got a lot of versatility. He can play second. He can play third. LSU needs that. He's a left-handed hitter. He does have some pop. He only hit 4 home runs, but he only had 110 at-bats. You double that, which is what a lot of the A&M guys maybe up at that by 120%. All of a sudden, this is definitely a guy that can hit 13, 15 home runs if he plays every day. And I think LSU would be in the mix there because he's not going to go to Texas, and I think may have been in the transfer portal anyway.
So I think it's funny that we're talking about Chase Laviolette possibly going to LSU, and I just found this article from the Houston Chronicle where whenever he committed to A&M, he said it was the best decision of his life to choose A&M over LSU, and how funny it would be to see him wearing purple and gold.
I would guess Chase Laviolette plays at A&M or Texas next year.
Yeah, I would too.
And I would bet Gavin Grahovic plays at A&M or Texas next year. Like, that's just, again, I don't have the contact information for all the Texas boosters. I can't really send them a quick text and see how many dollars they're planning on putting in. But it stands to reason if you're going to make a commitment to Jim Schlossnagle, and then it stands to reason if you're A&M and you are just mortified with the last 48 hours of college baseball, the war chests are coming out. And that is going to be a big boon for a lot of those guys. But if you just jumped in and missed the beginning of this segment, like, I just went through the top 11 batting averages in Texas A&M's order, and none of them are committed to playing for the Aggies next year. I've seen 2 guys who have come out and said, I'm not going anywhere. One of them, Shane Sadeo, who got hurt at the end of this year and wasn't available in College World Series. Now it's a huge deal for Texas A&M. I don't know what that arm injury is going to look like and if he's going to be able to pitch next year. They think he is, but he could be a Friday night guy for Texas A&M next year if he's healthy. He said he's gonna be an Aggie. But the rest of the guys offensively, it's an exodus potentially. And that is the reality of collegiate athletics today. Like, these coaching changes are a free-for-all. You lose your entire roster. We saw it with Will Wade. We saw it with Ed Ogeron. A&M baseball is not any different because they played for a national championship. And the days of put on for Old State U just aren't here. I'll toss another name in there, and I would imagine he'll be at A&M or Texas. But Caden Sorrell is a very, very much undersold part of this A&M baseball program. That's a guy who came in as a freshman, and because he was not Schott or Appel or Montgomery or Laviolette or Grahovic or even Camarillo, He had a great freshman year. He hit 275 with 11 home runs as a freshman. That's a really, really strong freshman campaign. I would love it if LSU got in the mix there as well. I have no doubt that Jay Johnson has every intention of being aggressive with some of these guys that have become available, but the question is whether or not you can pry them from the Lone Star State with those two sparring the way that they are. We'll see. The other question that I've gotten is, will Texas A&M now look at Jay Johnson? And I'll give you the same answer. A&M and Texas, I believe, are very, very comparable jobs. The cities are different. The fan bases are a little bit different. And one has a lot more postseason success than the other. But in today's landscape of collegiate athletics, A&M and Texas are very, very comparable jobs. And the same reason I don't think Jay Johnson's going to Texas is the same reason I don't think he's going to Texas A&M. All he cares about is college baseball. And nowhere cares more about college baseball than this place. And he's already gotten to the top. He understands that there's a commitment here. There's an unbelievable fan base. There's an incredible tradition. I just don't think that Texas A&M is going to throw $3 million on the table and he's going to bolt. I won't suggest that he may not get a raise. That could very well happen. Tony Vitello could get a raise. Kevin O'Sullivan could get a raise. Brian O'Connor could get a raise. They could go up. Skip Johnson could get a raise at Oklahoma. There are a lot of different ways. Nick Mingione. Like a lot of different ways A&M could go here, and I think they will move pretty quickly. I would expect A&M to have a head baseball coach before close of business on Friday. But I don't think it's going to be Jay Johnson. We'll see where some of these guys end up in the transfer portal. Our baseball breakdowns all season long brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar. 2 locations, Nicholson just south of campus, Bluebonnet in front of the Mall of Louisiana. Get on by, eat some delicious award-winning jumbo chicken wings, cold draft beer, sports on TV. Pluckers, if you don't like our wing, we'll give you the bird. When we come back, it's What If Wednesday on the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Love telling you about my guy Robbie Bolton and Evolve Physical Therapy. EvolvePT.com is where you can find them online, or you can stop in. It's Starring near Highland Road. They're looking for active folks who aren't feeling their best and are looking to get back to being their active selves, whether it's a youth athlete that's been hurt in youth sports or someone older who's either in a car accident or has been injured playing golf, playing pickleball out on the tennis court, and you want to get back to it. Go to Evolve Physical Therapy. You probably, if you've been to physical therapy, had a subpar experience. Like that happens a lot. And if you've been somewhere and they kind of handed you some exercises, went to do some paperwork, left you alone for 30 minutes, came back and said, hey, how you feeling? That's not the experience you're looking for. Go to Evolve. Robbie Bolton and his team are very, very much hands-on. They'll do the soft tissue manipulation, dry needling, isokinetic testing, cupping, scraping, and they're going to be right there with you, hands-on massaging, to get you back to feeling your best as quickly as possible so you can get back out there and be your active self. Check them out online, evolvept.com. Check them out, storefront, Starring on Highland Road. It's Evolve Physical Therapy, evolvept.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Bayou Ford has $10,000 off F-150. $10,000 off the new 2024 Ford F-150. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 7-year, 100,000-mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Farming is a way of life for us. It's not something we get up in the morning and dread going do. It's just something we go to bed at night looking forward to getting up to go do. John Deere equipment is what we as farmers strive to have. It's in your blood, it's in your veins. It's just a part of who you are. Green is what we want to be in. The other tractors were acquired to patch it up to get to where you want to be. Where we want to be is in John Deere. Flip the switch and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is
Griff, join us for the Thursday edition of Live at Lunch from Jolie Pearl, Oyster Bar, and Town Square Pizza. Both Dwayne Colucci and Randy McKay join the show tomorrow, and we'll take a look back at what happened in the NBA draft. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. Thursday on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
The quote from Chris Del Conte is, when he went to College Station to talk to Jim Schlossnagle face-to-face, he had to wait near a cemetery because he didn't think anyone would visit there.
Wow. That sounds like...
none of the folks there were paying attention to...
Sounds like some
to
espionage or
it
something.
Really does. Said Schlossnagle got in the car and they drove to Austin. Holy cow, what a story. This one they will not forget anytime soon over there in the state of Texas. We've been talking about it for about 30 minutes. If you missed any of it, you can go catch it on demand. I've got a lot of thoughts, and a lot of this could potentially impact LSU moving forward. A lot of basketball to talk in the second hour. Matthew Bruni talking about who Matt McMahon is targeting in the high school ranks, and it's some pretty impressive stuff that Matt McMahon's doing in high school recruiting. Christian Clark from NOLA News is going to talk about the NBA draft and what it means for the Pels this evening, coming up at 2:30. But it's What If Wednesday.
Time, space, reality. It's more than a linear path. Where a single choice can branch out into infinite realities. Follow me and ponder the question. What if?
Alrighty, first one here. What if Trev Alberts, the athletic director at Texas A&M, calls Jay Johnson?
He can't do that. He's got to call Scott Woodward first, I'm told.
Yes.
That's what Jay Johnson said in his press conference, and I think if that were to happen, the Jay Johnson would probably get a little pay bump. That's what I would suggest.
Yeah.
I don't believe it would result in Jay leaving. We talked about that in the last segment. So there's that.
All right, next one. What if you had to choose between air conditioning or a TV?
I mean, I gotta go with TV. I have to be able to watch stuff.
Even
I have
right
to be able
now.
to watch
Even right
sports.
now.
Yeah, I mean, I have to choose.
Okay,
like,
but do you realize?
what am I going to do in my nice, comfortable 68-degree house if I can't watch sports?
I mean, you have a phone.
I think that's cheating.
Okay.
It's so I can watch all my sports on my phone or
Okay.
my laptop.
Okay, well, let's just say, I guess for this exercise, you can't do that. But you're telling me
I'm going to watch sports drenched in sweat in a
100
miserable
your house is
100
100 degrees. and
Yeah,
you're
I'm going to
gonna-
watch sports in that
There's
as opposed
no
to
shot.
Oh, I have to.
There's no
that's
shot.
That's my whole hobby. That's everything I got.
You'll
What
literally
am I gonna
die,
do?
Hunt.
I'm not going to die. There's places that don't have air conditioning.
Okay.
I'll just get a box fan in the corner. Like, it's going to suck, but I got to watch sports.
Okay, well, yeah, if you can
What
get
am I
a
going to take up
fan, too,
woodworking or something? This is not going to happen.
All right.
I have to be able to have my TV. I got to watch sports.
All right.
It's the only way.
Moving on. What if Josh Booty had gone directly to LSU and skipped pro baseball?
So I got to look up the year that he was taken by the Marlins. That's going to be quick to look up. He was a first-round pick out of Evangel up there in Shreveport, and obviously he was a huge high school football recruit. I do remember my dad took me to watch Evangel play. I obviously grew up in Shreveport, and I remember Josh Booty would stand at midfield pregame and just flick 50-yard bombs as like a warm-up to his receivers that were running down. They played Moss Bluff, Mississippi, and just beat them by a bajillion. So he was drafted by the Marlins in, I can't find the draft date. It's only the MLB debut. He was the 5th pick in the first round in 1994. So that was a little bit before Bring Back the Magic, which was the following year. So he would have been Jerry DiNardo's quarterback instead of Herb Tyler.
And they would have stunk.
And they would not have been good. And maybe you don't have the great Herb Tyler game against Florida where they're running the option, scoring with Tommy Banks, and one of the great nights in the history of Tiger Stadium. So I think it worked out that Josh came back later and actually was an all-SEC quarterback. But that was a big deal, obviously. I think it would change materially some of the things that happened there, but as long as we wind it back and get to Nick Saban, we'll figure it out from there.
Yeah. All right, next one. What if Texas A&M would have won it all?
I don't think it changes. We talked about this.
Yeah.
I think he had made his mind up, and I just don't think the cold feet would have set in when he got back. He was going to go, and we talked about this. Like I think they would have hated him forever. I don't think he could come back and celebrate that championship ever. I don't think he'd be part of any of the reunions. I think he would be persona non grata in College Station for forever. Maybe I'm wrong. When you're that star for a championship and you bring the first and only one, maybe that's not right, but it feels like that he would never be welcome back.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I wonder if LSU will ever have anything like that with Nick Saban. Like any kind of reunions? Or
I think if he came back, now it doesn't make a lot of sense because it's 21 years, but say in 3 years or 4 years for the 25-year anniversary in 2028 for the 03 team, if he came back, he would get a standing ovation.
Yeah.
I think. I would.
I tend to agree with you.
I said the day after he retired, like, I can let it subside now. Like, while you're still kicking my tail every single freaking November and coming in here every single signing period and taking 2 of the guys out of my state that I want, like, I cannot come around to rational thought there. I just despise everything you're doing.
Yeah.
But once you put it down and go away and go play golf and go live in Florida, like, I'll figure it out. And if he came back now, I would applaud him. He still gave me some of the worst memories of my sporting life over the last 15 years, but I could figure it out now.
I think there's probably 2 things there. One being that the rivalry between Texas and A&M is probably a little bit deeper seated than the LSU Bama.
No question.
And also, Nick Saban literally turned LSU's football program around. So
yes, and left for the Dolphins.
Yes.
Very different.
So very different, yeah. All right, moving on. What if you had one LSU basketball player to take the game winner over the last 25 years? So that goes back to 1999.
It does. Some names are coming to mind. The guy that made the most clutch shots was Daryl Mitchell.
Yes.
Obviously the one against Texas A&M, the most clutch there. Had some against West Virginia. I mean, he had some big shots. Tremont Waters hit some huge shots for LSU in a postseason buzzer beater as well. He had the ridiculous game at Texas A&M where he was throwing them in. And then another guy that was just as good a scorer as I've seen at LSU was Cam Thomas, who I don't have any problem handing him the ball and say, hey, go get a basket. But if you're making me take the game winner over the last 25 years, who am I giving the basketball to? I think I'm going to give it to Cam Thomas. He's that he didn't have the clutch shot, so I don't know. But as far as like, I need you to put the ball in the basket in the next 10 seconds, I think I got to go with him. I would feel good with D. Mitch having the ball for sure. And obviously Tremont was great, and Marcus Thornton was the SEC Player of the Year. And there have been some guys, but I think for me, I got to give it to Cam Thomas. He's just the best scorer I've seen.
I was going to say, I think I'll give it to Marcus Thornton.
He was good. I was in school for him.
Yeah, his ability to score the ball, I think, was probably, I don't know if it was on par with Cam Thomas, but I think his ability to create his own shot. Cam Thomas lived at the free throw line quite a bit, So I'll take Marcus Thornton. I'll take him to be the game winner.
That team, that draw was so bad. I will reference that draw every March forever because that team won the SEC outright, got an 8 seed.
Yeah.
They had to play Butler in the first round, and that whole team went to 2 straight finals after that. They beat them, then they had to go play the best Carolina team in the last 15 years, and they played them tough enough. That was the best game Carolina got in the whole tournament.
If that accomplishment in the 2019 Masters,
100%, yes,
no question about it.
No doubt, because
his legs still worked when he won the Masters.
He could walk for that. He can't even walk. His game's not sharp. He can't play. That would be far better.
This would be the greatest golfing accomplishment of all time. I think even topping Jack winning the Masters when he was like 50, whatever.
And then I'm struggling. Was it Jones or Hogan that got in the car accident? Jones got in the car accident and came back and won. That type of deal. That would be way better. It would be ridiculous. So
yeah,
that's it for What If Wednesday. Appreciate y'all for sending those in via Twitter and the Bayou Ford chat. We got a lot of basketball coming in the second hour. We'll start it with Matthew Bruni in 15 minutes. When we come back, just a brief look at how some of the LSU baseball players are faring in summer ball. It's not a huge comprehensive look. Stats are tougher to come by than I would think. I gave it about 15, 20 minutes this morning and found a few. One is very encouraging, so we'll do that coming up next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
Audio Video Security Solutions, avssla.com. Just did a what if AC or TV, and I told you how important TV is to me. Said I would compromise air conditioning in the summer for it. That's because I got a great setup with TV, thanks to the folks at Audio Video Security Solutions. They mounted every television in my new house. If you are moving and want to get set up with a new audio system and want those TVs mounted on the wall and in the living room, kitchen, bedroom, wherever, Audio Video Security Solutions can help you with that. They can do so many complex things as far as the home entertainment system goes as well. They can do voice-activated things, so you can walk in and say, I want to watch a movie, and the blinds will come down, and the TV will come on, and the lights will dim, and that is thing they can do for you. That's a little fancy for me personally. I can hit the remote. But if you're into some convenience, Audio Video Security Solutions can help you with all of it. It's always a great idea to check them out on Instagram because you can see some of the great examples of the work that they do, both indoor and outdoor. A lot of people hanging out at the pool or by the grill outside this time of year. Want some tunes? Audio Video Security Solutions can help you with it. Check them out on Instagram, AVSS_BR, and check them out online. It's Audio Video Security Solutions at AVSSLA.com.
Get the 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge app powered by Bayou Ford and tap the microphone icon to send us your thoughts in an audio message. Your message could be played on air during Off the Bench with Esther and T-Bob, The Hunt Palmer Show, and after further review with Matt Moscone.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Farming is a way of life for us. It's not something we get up in the morning and dread going do. It's just something we go to bed at night looking forward to getting up to go do. John Deere equipment is what we as farmers strive to have. It's in your blood, it's in your veins. It's just a part of who you are. Green is what we want to be in. The other tractors were acquired to patch it up to get to where you want to be. Where we want to be is in John Deere. Flip the switch and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is taking $20,000 off new 23 Ram 1500 trucks. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $20,000 off the powerful Ram truck. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 7-year, 100,000-mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Bayou Ford has $10,000 off F-150. $10,000 off the new 2024 Ford F-150. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 7-year, 100,000-mile.
Matt Moscone inviting you to join us for Wednesday's Hump Day AFR presented by Pluckers. Jim Schlossnagle leaving Texas A&M for Texas. The domino effects in the portal. How do they impact LSU? We're talking about it. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
So as I said, to close out of the hour here, we'll go through just a couple of names in summer ball for LSU that are out working on their game. The most notable to me, and these are very small sample sizes, so don't overreact to anything that I'm saying here. Jake Brown in 8 games in Cape Cod is hitting .320 with a home run. I talked about the guys that were going out for summer ball when they did finish the season and started going out on their assignments. He was one of the guys I mentioned. This is a big summer for him because he has the opportunity now, really for the first time in his life, to pay attention to offense only. And you don't have to worry about winning a game. You don't have to worry about potentially making a big out. Like, you can go work on your offensive game against some really good competition. You can get at bats day after day, not worry about platooning or whether you're in the lineup that day. Like, it's a good opportunity for him, and he's such a good athlete, and he's got such good hands, and we saw the home run that he hit in the regional in Chapel Hill, and I think he's got a chance to be a really good player at LSU, but he needs more at-bats, and less time focusing on pitching. So to see him off to a good start, I'm not suggesting that because he's hitting .320 in 8 games in the Cape, he's going to come back and automatically, he's a .320 hitter. He's got work to do, but it's a good start through 8 games for him to get off to. Griffin Herring has only made 1 appearance by the stats. I will be quite honest with you. Cape Cod is a phenomenal league. They've got these PR teams for every team. They've got great baseball announcers. They stream the games. It seems like a really good operation. Their statistics are not maintained all that great. That's a really easy thing to do, is deal with stats, and I feel like they're a little lagging in that perspective. But Griffin Herring, by what the numbers tell me, has made 1 start. In that start, he went 3 2/3 innings, did not allow a hit or a run, struck out 3 and walked 2. He actually faced Jake Brown in that outing. I know that he was throwing some changeups in that outing, but it's not like he's been making a ton of starts. This start was back last week and hasn't been back out there. So I don't know what his plan is, how much he's planning on pitching, whether or not he's trying to show off for the pro scouts or whether or not he's kind of honing his game to come back and be a starter at LSU. But either way, he's got that 1 appearance, and it went very well for 3 2/3 innings, so that's a good start for Griffin Herring, and hopefully he's back at LSU in the fall. And the last guy I want to mention is Ashton Larson. He finally was activated by the Chatham Anglers earlier this week. He's only had 2 at-bats, and he's 0 for 2 in those 2 at-bats, but it looks like he's going to get some at-bats here later in the summer. If you're not familiar, a lot of guys don't show up at the beginning of summer ball and play the whole time through. Some of them just play the first 3 weeks and sit down. Some of them take a couple of weeks off from their season and maybe rest their arm, rest their legs, and then go out there and get 3 weeks of at-bats. Some guys play a little bit more. Some guys play a little bit less. It's kind of whatever your college coach decides or whatever your agent decides to do if you're a draft-eligible player. So Larson did take a couple of weeks off, but he has been activated, and I think it's a big summer for him as well, as he made a great charge late in his freshman year. So just keeping an eye on those 3 guys up there in summer ball. Up in Cary, North Carolina at Team USA, they will play a scrimmage tonight, Stars versus Stripes, and as we very well know, LSU is represented there. Stephen Milam is looking to make Team USA so he can play through the summer with the national team. If he doesn't make it, he'll go to Cape Cod Hopefully, though, he does make the team, and they'll have a scrimmage tonight, and they'll, I think in the next 3 days, decide who the Team USA full squad will be, and they'll go out and play their summer circuit against some international competition. So very, very cool thing for Stephen Milam. We're certainly pulling for him from back here in Baton Rouge. Baseball Breakdowns brought to you by Pluckers. A lot of baseball in the first hour. Full reaction to Jim Schlossnagle taking the Texas job and what that means for the Texas A&M program and what potentially could mean in the transfer portal for LSU, as A&M's roster is essentially all in the transfer portal at this point. We had a What If Wednesday in the middle of the hour. Air conditioning or television? I gave you my answer. Beck didn't seem to like it, and I looked over at Cassie. She didn't seem impressed either. But we gave the answers in What If Wednesday. We'll pause for Sports Center. When we come back, Matthew Bruni talking some LSU basketball recruiting on a high school perspective. Blue chip prospects potentially coming in for Coach Matt McMahon. That's next on a Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
There it is, the extra mile. On the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Farming is a way of life for us. It's not something we get up in the morning and dread going do. It's just something we go to bed at night looking forward to getting up to go do. John Deere equipment is what we as farmers strive to have. It's in your blood, it's in your veins. It's just a part of who you are. Green is what we want to be in. The other tractors were acquired to patch it up to get to where you want to be. Where we want to be is in John Deere. Flip the switch and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. This is a big day for the NBA. First night of the draft. Atlanta's got the top overall pick. Washington 2, Houston 3. San Antonio's tied with Portland for most picks with 4 apiece. Spurs the only team with 2 picks in the top 10 at 4 and 8. ESPN college basketball analyst Fran Fraschilla.
They desperately need help in the backcourt. They need scoring and shooting around Big Victor. There's even some talk that they'd be willing to take if Klingon is there, or even if Sarr drops from 2, the other French kid, that they may be willing to go Twin Towers. Historically, it's been done before down there with Robinson and Duncan.
Fran Fraschilla on Carlin versus Joe. Draft coverage 7 Eastern ESPN Radio, 8 Eastern ABC and ESPN. Star forward Alex Morgan left off the U.S. women's national team's 2024 Olympic roster. First time she's not on Team USA's roster for a major tournament since the 2008 Olympics, before she made her debut for the squad. Hockey Hall of Famer Glenn Sather retiring after a 45-year career as an NHL executive. The last 24 years spent with the Rangers.
As humans, we like having options. One option you might like is speaking with a real person when you call about your credit card. With 24/7 live U.S.-based customer service from Discover, everyone can talk to a real person anytime, day or night. Limitations apply. See terms at discover.com/credit card.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to something quite extraordinary?
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour number 2, Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Half the work week in the rear view mirror, unless you're Jacob Beck, and then you're about to be off for a long time. So
yeah.
Not I. I signed up for 5 hours of live radio tomorrow in a row, so we'll see how that goes.
Have fun with that.
I'll have a blast. You missed it. I'll do AFR tomorrow. Matt's going to be out for the next 7 days or so. So I'll have the Hunt Palmer Show from 1 to 3, and then I'll have AFR from 3 to 6. It'll be quite a day talking sports tomorrow. We've had quite a day talking sports today. Talked a lot about the A&M Texas situation in baseball earlier. Let's transition over to the basketball floor, where Matt McMahon kind of quietly has done a nice job over 3 years of attracting high-level high school talent. And that's continuing as they look towards the 2025 class. Matthew Bruni covers LSU basketball, among other beats, for the On3 network over there at the Bengal Tiger. And he joins us now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. It's been a minute, Matthew. How are you?
Hey, Hunt. I'm doing great. Just staying busy during these summer months and trying to stay indoors for most of the day.
Well, Matt McMahon's staying busy and staying indoors because he's doing a lot of official visits and a lot of basketball stuff. And before we get into some specific names and some specific guys that LSU may be targeting, when you consider what Matt McMahon walked into and the question mark that could be surrounding him recruiting at an SEC level where he's never done that, how would you grade his high school recruiting through 3 cycles?
I'd give it a strong B+. Maybe even up to an A-. I think he's been really proactive. We saw with the very, very first class he had with Tyro Ward, Jalen Reed, even if you go to guys like Sean Phillips who ended up leaving, that's obviously a very impactful class. And then even the one that he just had come through, the 2024 class with Curtis Givens, Victorious Miller, Robert Miller, that's 3 top 65 guys. So it feels like every single year him and his staff are taking the necessary steps forward to be more and more and more competitive in the SEC, where, as we know, teams and programs are spending more money and coaches are becoming more high profile than ever, and recruiting is becoming bigger than ever, even with the transfer portal. So I think he's done a very good job. B+, it would be about where I have him at, which is very good. And like I said, I think he's getting better with every year.
A lot of coaches among different sports have different philosophies on how to build their roster, and we know that LSU men's basketball is not on the national profile that LSU baseball or LSU football are on, and we understand the way that Brian Kelly and Jay Johnson want to handle their business, and we know that Matt McMahon wants to handle his business. He wants to get a lot of high school players in, have them for 3 or 4 years, and then supplement that with some older transfer portal guys to fill holes in the roster. Do you think that's the right approach at LSU?
I do, especially because the big thing across any sport is when you get these high-level high school players is retaining them, and he has done a really good job at retention. Like I said, with Jalen Reed and Tyrell Ward, those two guys are going into year 3, and this today's college basketball landscape, that's basically about as long as you ever see guys stay for. But yeah, you have those two, Mike Williams returning for a sophomore year, Corey Chess returning for a second year. So you have a lot of examples of guys buying in and wanting to stay, and even if most of them aren't from Louisiana or aren't from the normal pipeline states, they're able to keep them for multiple years. So if that's the case, I definitely think high school recruiting is the way to go. I think LSU is also in a situation where, from a transfer portal standpoint, they're not going to be able to get top 15 players in the transfer portal every year that keeps them competitive at the top of the conference. So I do think they're playing a little different game than maybe some, like an Auburn per se, is playing. So I think this is the right way of going about it, building through high school and then filling the holes with the portal.
Well, you mentioned some of the guys that he's brought in through high school: Tyrell Ward, Jalen Reed, Mike Williams, and then you mentioned Corey Chess there. What can you tell us about Corey Chess? I think everybody's pretty familiar with the first 3 guys I mentioned because they've played. Chess redshirted. Are you expecting that he's going to be an impact guy this coming season?
I do. What role exactly, I'm not sure. I like the front court that they have. I think there's a question at the center position. They're going to have to move over maybe like a Jalen Reed or Robert Miller and Damian Collins to try to fill the 5 spot, which I think gives Corey Chess some openings at the 4. Extremely high motor guy, awesome rebounder, awesome offensive rebounder, strong finisher in the paint. I'm interested at just as much as anybody to see him in real competition here. Can he push a guy like Damian Collins for playing time? Can he push for those minutes at the 4 that I think he's going to need for his development? He obviously sees the plan. Like I said, him staying after a redshirt year, I know he's from New Orleans, but him staying after a redshirt year speaks to him seeing the plan and seeing some light at the end of the tunnel for getting on the court. And I think there's enough flexibility at the forward spot this year. I didn't even mention Derek Fountain, but you throw him in there as well. So they have enough bodies, but I think Chess has a skill set that's valuable in rebounding and defense that'll get him on the court.
Matthew Bruni is our guest, covers LSU football and basketball for the Bengal Tiger, part of the On3 Network. Does an awesome job with Shay and Billy and the boys over there. All right, let's talk about some of the guys that Matt McMahon is targeting in this cycle. They've had some visitors come in. I know if you want to read more about it, you can check out Matthew's piece over on the Bengal Tiger. But Nick Lewis is the guy that you highlighted that they've brought in.
Yeah, Nick Lewis came, I believe, Sunday through Tuesday, left Tuesday afternoon, and I think him and, along with King Grace, who's currently on his official visit, I think it continues to show their, in 2025, a lot of their attention on the point guard spot. Those are 2 point guards. They have another official visit set up for Jalen Reese in the fall, who's another a guy to watch from Florida. I saw him on the Nike circuit I really liked. So they have cast a pretty wide net. A couple players I haven't even mentioned as well in that net. So I think the point guard position is one I'm really looking forward to in 2025. But Nick Lewis, really the number 6 point guard in the country, guy who's going to have a lot of attention throughout the cycle. So again, let's say they go after 4 different point guards and they only land 1. I think that's still a big win for them. They're trying to just maintain that point guard position, which is very important to Matt McMahon every year.
Yeah, that was my next question, because they brought in Mike Williams, and then you're going to see Curtis Givens in this class, and then you look at Nick Lewis. Are they going to try to bring in a point guard every single year?
I think pretty much. Honestly, the past 2 years have been kind of a disaster when you think about the point guard position.
Yep.
Last year, it was kind of out of his control with Jalen Cook. He brought in the player, it just didn't work out. So we know that he loves those high ball screens. He likes point guards being in control. I think you're going to see a lot of that this year, from Jordan Sears to Curtis Givens to Mike Williams. So I feel great about the point guard position going into this season. I'm interested to see how the offense kind of plays off of it, because he hasn't really been able to play with a lot of true point guards, or at least successful point guards, in his first years at LSU. So this is a very different way of going into the season. I think he's going to want to sustain that every single year.
Let's get to the name that everybody's going to be talking about until his commitment is made and his national letter of intent is signed, and that's Chris Sinek from down in New Orleans. He was at the NBA PA Top 100 camp a couple of weeks ago, and he's going to be a huge target for this class because there aren't a lot of in-state guys that pop like this. What can you tell us about his game and where LSU stands with Chris Sinek?
Yeah, he's incredible. He has shot up rankings. On three, had him. I remember a few weeks ago on three, bumped him up to number 6 in the class, and nobody else had him in the top 40. And I was like, okay, what am I? Just let me take a deeper look into this kid. And when you watch it, you see it, and then all of a sudden, like you said, he goes to the top 100 camp, and he won the MVP. He was the best player there, averaged 18 and 11 with a block and a half. And this is again amongst the best players in the country. And now everybody sees him as a top 10 player comfortably. And that's not just evaluators, that's coaches from across the country as well. That's, Bill Self, John Calipari, that's everybody sees Chris Sinek as a top 10 player. So his recruitment is really just getting started. I will say, though, from LSU's perspective, LSU and Houston have been the two programs that have been recruiting Sinek real heavily over the past year. So even when he wasn't a top 10 player in the eyes of most, LSU and Houston were very, very aggressive on him. So I expect those two to get a lot of the benefit of the doubt. I think LSU is in a good spot, but as we know, it's early, and with the amount of attention he's picked up, it's going to be real interesting to watch.
Certainly is. Always good to talk a little hoops in the summer. Matthew, we'll do it again soon. Thanks, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Hunt. Anytime.
He's Matthew Bruni, part of the Bengal Tiger over there on 3. Got a great piece up about all the high school prospects that LSU is coveting here in this cycle. And Chris Sinek's going to be the biggest one. He's down there from Newman. He is 6'10". He's got a huge wingspan. He's really athletic. He can score around the rim. Like he's a dude, and that doesn't happen in Louisiana very often. You go back to the days of Brandon Bass and then Glenn Davis and the whole Final Four team with Daryl Mitchell and Garrett Temple and Tyrus Thomas and all that, but the LSU guys, the Louisiana guys that come in and make a huge impact are few and far between. We love Garrett Temple, and Skylar Mays is fantastic, and it does happen some, but it doesn't happen quite near as much as it does in football. And so when you've got a guy that's a top 10 player in the country, which almost never happens in Louisiana, got to try to find a way to make that work. And Chris Sinek is a guy that LSU is very much putting a lot of work into, and we'll see if they can't secure his commitment when that date comes. Appreciate Bernie for jumping on and talking a little bit of basketball here with us. We're going to talk some NBA draft coming up in 15 minutes. Come back with us. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electrical Services. Check them out online, boudreauxelectrical.com. Neil and Melissa been running the shop for 40 years down there in Napoleonville. They are a certified Generac home standby generator dealer. They're a premier Generac dealer. That means they're in the top 3% nationwide. When I talk to you about Boudreaux's Electrical, I'm not going to tell you about the VIP package you can pay more for. That's not part of the way they do business. Every single customer at Boudreaux's Electrical is treated like a VIP. You don't have to pay more for that. You just get the service. You've got different options in where you can find your Generac generator. Make it Boudreaux's. One of the things they'll do for you is they'll monitor your generator remotely 24/7. So just during the random course of a day, the kids are home from school, they're playing ball, and somebody bashes into the generator and knocks something loose. You may not know about it because you're not out there and the kids aren't going to tell you about it. But if that happens, Boudreaux's Electrical is going to monitor that generator. They'll see there's something wrong. They'll call you, hey, something's up with the generator. Let me come fix it. They'll make sure it's fixed so that when a storm blows through, when somebody runs into an electrical pole, when something happens and your power goes out, that Generac generator comes on and saves the day. Whether you're riding out a storm, whether you're evacuating, you want that generator to power your home so that it's comfortable when you return or while you're there. Boudreaux's Electrical can help you out with all of that. Give them a call, 985-397-1562. 985-397-1562. That's my friends at Boudreaux's Electrical.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD.
Charles Handgriff joins us for the Thursday edition of Live at Lunch from Jolie Pearl, Oyster Bar, and Town Square Pizza. Both Dwayne.
Coming July 15th, the 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge 2K a Day Summer Cash Giveaway brought to you by Citizens Bank and Trust. Stay tuned for details on the word of the day coming the entire week of July 15th and your chance to win extra cash for the summer.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
In 12 minutes, we'll talk NBA draft tonight. The Pelicans have potentially a transformative offseason on their hands. What's the future of Brandon Ingram look like? What could they get in return for him? What do they need to do with their draft selection tonight? We'll do all of that coming up with Christian Clark from NOLA News. Not to be confused with Kristen Clark. It'll be Christian Clark from NOLA News talking about the Pels in 12 minutes. Beck, I just want to kick this around a little bit because I feel like while it is my job, quite literally, to talk about things that get me emotionally invested, which is LSU sports to a large degree. I do admit that sometimes your emotional investment can change your judgment and alter your sight of something.
Definitely.
I mean, it's just the nature of things, and I always take solace in Scott Van Pelt's line that everybody's from somewhere. Everybody that's in the media is from somewhere, and there's always some sort of home. And so I do want to take opportunities when there is something that's going on kind of outside of LSU's world to kind of look at it from a big picture. Texas A&M had a phenomenal baseball team, was set up to have a phenomenal baseball team next year, had a great coach, and were, a top 8 program in the country at this point. And now when you look up, they don't have a coach, and their entire roster has the opportunity to leave at the drop of a hat. Now, you take that from the A&M side, and that sounds terrible, but you realize that these young players who signed to play for Jim Schlossnagle, who is now gone, have an opportunity to create some money for themselves and to create a new start or to explore options and decide to go back to College Station. Like, in a big picture, none of this was possible 5 years ago, 8 years ago, 10 years ago. Is this good? Is this good?
I think just like NIL, I think this is better for the player. Just as you outlined, now they have the opportunity, instead of staying where they have no idea who their next coach will be, what kind of relationship they could have with them. Now, as I'm sure there's been cases where before this there were players who were with a team and a new coach came in and they end up having a great relationship with them. I mean, I think Jacob Hester and then T-Bob, I think Jacob Hester would say that about Les Miles, and I think
Dylan Cruz would say that about Jay Johnson.
Yeah, I think Dylan Cruz would say that about Jay Johnson. So there's definitely times where it's been fine. So I don't know that I would say either way whether or not this is good overall just for college sports or just for the player. But I wouldn't say it. I don't think it could be a bad thing in my opinion, because it just gives the player more options as opposed to them being kind of stuck. And if they want to transfer, they have to sit out a year. So now it just negates that.
Yeah, I've weighed this back and forth because I'm a lot of times in a lot of aspects of my life pretty resistant to change. I kind of like things the way they are, and I don't love to change things up just for the sake of changing things. My freaking friends cannot stop changing the rules to fantasy football, and I just don't know why they can't just let it be. We need another quarterback. We need to change the point system for quarterback. Take defense off. We need to put tight end on the flex. Well, just tell me what the rules are. Why are we changing this just for like, that's a stupid example, but it's kind of my mindset on things. Like I'm resistant to change a lot. And the transfer portal is a massive change. And if I'm sitting there in maroon and white today in College Station, I'm going, this sucks. We got all these awesome players, and they're all free to just walk out the door. Like, that is no good. But I'm not in maroon and white. I'm sitting here looking at that from afar, and I'm going, these kids had a fast one pulled on them and could not have foreseen this 6 weeks ago. And so for them to have the opportunity to reevaluate things, I think is a positive. And it's just very difficult for me to suggest that Paul Skeen's ability to transfer from Air Force to LSU without sitting out is a bad thing. I get that it sucks for Air Force, and they could have had a great pitcher. But he was able to better himself, one, in his collegiate career, and then two, professionally, and now here he is. It's hard for me to say that Jaden Daniels escaping that cesspool that was the Herm Edwards era ending in, Tempe and coming to Baton Rouge is a bad thing for him. And, I don't know a ton of like monster success stories of guys that have transferred out of LSU and become stars elsewhere, but it would be hypocritical for me to say that those two situations are so good and the situation of somebody leaving LSU is bad. Like, I think there are instances where this is a really good thing. I'm a little bit turned off by, backup defensive tackles holding collegiate football programs ransom for $1 million. Like, that seems a bit extreme to me. But as far as the portal goes, like, two things can be true. It can be really good and fair to student athletes, and it can be really freaking hard on coaches, specifically football coaches who are trying to shepherd 85 scholarship guys at one time. Like, that makes things really difficult. But if you're a program, whether you're Will Davis at Lamar or Jay Johnson at LSU, like, every person that leaves, you've got an opportunity to fill that spot.
Right.
A lot of dudes. So, yeah, it's more work and it's more difficult and it's harder to maintain a program and develop players. And that part, I think Jay Johnson and Will Davis would certainly lament in their different situations. But it's hard for me to sit here and just completely throw cold water on this process like a lot of people do. I was doing a radio spot in New Orleans a few weeks ago, and the guy was like, I hate it. I hate the transfer portal. I was like, you hate the transfer portal? Like, you're going to tell me Paul Skeen's story is terrible? You're going to tell me Dalton Connect's story would be the SEC Player of the Year in basketball is going to be a lottery pick tonight? Like, that's bad? I can't get there.
Yeah, I agree, and I think we've seen for A&M fans, it stings right now. It hurts. You think, oh my gosh, all these players are in the portal. But we talked about it when they hire a coach, and he's going to be a great coach. they will likely, I think, in my opinion, get some of these players back. So they're not all going to leave. And
if they do, Matt McMahon took it on the chin for a year, and he's fixing it.
Yeah, LSU,
you had that opportunity to fix it quickly.
Yeah, LSU football. I mean, when Brian Kelly came in, they lost players, but they rebuilt quickly and
won the West.
So it's obviously when it happens, it hurts so much, and you wonder what the future could hold. But we've seen multiple cases where the team rebounds. That they usually do. So I don't feel like this is a situation where this is just going to be detrimental to college sports forever because coaches and players like this are going to leave so frequently. When, like you said, when somebody leaves, you can bring someone else in. And so it's just going to be more of a revolving door in terms of what players will be at which team and for how long.
What we can be sure of is that this has created a pretty significant boost to the transfer portal. All of A&M's offensive roster is in the portal right now. I would imagine there are going to be a lot of guys from the University of Texas who jump in.
Yep.
And A&M's going to hire a coach from somewhere you heard of, and a lot of those guys are going to jump in the transfer portal. Now, they're probably going to go to College Station, but they may not. And so you're going to have some power programs have their rosters available to look at. And that's going to be something that I know Jay Johnson is going to do because he's definitely not done adding to this roster. Right now, I feel okay about the roster. That can change quickly with 2 or 3 ads that go, oh, okay, I see how that works. And all of a sudden, you've got a different-looking roster, different-looking lineup, and different-looking pitching staff. So we'll see as news progresses this week. And I'm telling you, news will progress this week. I thought that A&M would have a coach yesterday. I think I thought Texas would have a coach yesterday. I think A&M will have a coach by Friday. And I think that you'll start to see a lot of these guys make visits this weekend. And you'll see a ton of transfer portal news breaking Sunday, Monday, Tuesday of next week all over really the Southeast, which is where baseball is played at this point. So fascinating stuff from over there in College Station and Austin as Jim Schlossnagle, the new head coach over at Texas. All right, when we come back, Christian Clark from NOLA News is going to talk about the Pels in the draft. Is BI coming back? Who are they going to take in the draft? What's the situation with the organization? Do they have 1 year left? What are we looking at with the Pels? We'll talk to Christian Clark coming up next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closet. I tell you every day about the massive renovations they can do with your entire closet, with your entire bathroom. Maybe you're not in the market for that. Maybe you're looking at that tub and it's dingy and it's old and it's not functional because you don't ever take a bath. And you want to do a tub-to-shower conversion. I can't do that at my house currently because I've got Myers Man. He's 2, about 6:15 every day. He's going in the bath. It's going to be a train wreck. He's going to throw toys everywhere. He's going to pour water all over me. It's going to be splashing all over the place like a lunatic. But we got to use the bathtub. If you don't have that situation and you just take showers, we'll take the tub out. Tub-to-shower conversion. Gorgeous walk-in shower. Changes the look. Changes the functionality of your bathroom. Adds a little value to your home as well. David Duvall and his team are happy to do it for you, and they'll take $1,000 off if you tell them, hey, heard about it on the Hunt Palmer Show. $1,000 off. Go to OneBathAndClosets.com. Check out the testimonials. Check out the pictures of their great work. Get that free consultation. It's One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Farming is a way of life for us. It's not something we get up in the morning and dread going do. It's just something we go to bed at night looking forward to getting up to go do. John Deere equipment is what we as farmers strive to have. So it's in your blood, it's in your veins. It's just a part of who you are. Green is what we want to be in. The other tractors were acquired to patch it up to get to where you want to be. Where we want to be is in John Deere. Flip the switch and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to.
Matt Moscone inviting you to join us for Wednesday's Hump Day AFR presented by Pluckers. Jim Schlossnagle leaving Texas A&M for Texas. The domino effects in the portal, how do they impact LSU? We're talking about it. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
NBA draft cranks up tonight. Pelicans in the mix in the first round, and we'll talk a little bit about that, but I also want to hear about kind of where the organization stands and what they're looking to do in this offseason. It could be transformative if what the rumors are actually come to fruition. Christian Clark covers the Pels for NOLA News and The Advocate. You can follow him on Twitter at @cclark_13. Joins us now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Christian, thanks for the time. How are you?
Hey, man, I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Doing quite well. I'm curious to see what New Orleans does over the next 24, 48 hours. I want to start big picture before we nail down the next 24, 48 hours. What did you make of this past season for the Pelicans? They were healthy for so long until they weren't, and then they really weren't, and the postseason exit was really, really quick. What did you think of it in its entirety?
Yeah, I mean, the main two guys finally played. I mean, I think the story of the two seasons before this past one was just the availability issues that they dealt with Brandon Ingram and Zion Williamson. I mean, I think, 49 wins was largely a product of health and availability, but at the same time, those minutes when C.J. McCollum, Brandon Ingram, Zion Williamson were all on the floor together, the Pelicans, three $30 million players, Pelicans were just okay. They actually lost those minutes. I think the Pelicans, won a lot of games because they had a really good bench and they had good depth. But, this is 5 years of Brandon Ingram and Zion Williamson together. Guys have not played in a playoff game yet. Bad luck has a lot to do with that. But I think when you just look at that in its totality, I think that's why a lot of people around the NBA think, hey, look, the Pelicans are ripe for a shakeup.
What do you think the Pelicans organization thinks of Zion Williamson at this point?
I think they have a much higher opinion of him than they did like a year or two ago. I mean, last summer, I think they really looked at trading Zion Williamson. I think there was just extreme frustration with some of the stuff that had gone on, in terms of him just not being diligent about rehab, the off-the-court stuff. I think they like him a lot more is like a partner than they did this time last year. And, everything I've heard this summer is, hey, look, we're going to make a go of this. And we know this roster right now, it's not like optimized to fit around Zion Williamson, take advantage of his strengths. So I think they're going to try to fit the pieces around Zion a little bit better going into next season.
Did those pieces include Brandon Ingram?
Yeah, that's the big one, right? That's the big question. And I think probably, I'm not ruling out the possibility that Brandon is back next season, on an extension, but I've reported early in this offseason that I don't think the Pelicans are willing to offer him his full max extension. That's $208 million over 4 years, $52 million in average annual value. I don't see the Pelicans going there. I mean, maybe there's a middle ground where it's like, okay, $160 million over 4 years. But I think the most likely scenario is Brandon Ingram is on a different team next season. The Pelicans have Trey Murphy to plug in at the starting 3 spot if Brandon Ingram is on a different team. And I think when you look at the 2 areas of need for the Pelicans, a center, Jonas Valanciunas is an unrestricted free agent, and then I think playmaking. I mean, CJ McCollum has been a good player for this team, but he's best in an off-ball role. I think, this team needs a lead guard.
Where do they find that? Are there any names you've got in mind?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Pelicans had contact with the Cavaliers and the Hawks before the trade deadline in February. I think Darius Garland is an obvious name. I think people are wondering, well, are the Cavs actually going to move him? They're acting like they're not right now. And then Atlanta is definitely a team I look at. They've got 2 lead guards. It seems like they're going to trade one of them this summer. Trae Young is, a really talented offensive player. He makes pull-up threes. He's a really good lob thrower. You could put him in the pick and roll as Zion. And then DeJounte Murray is the other guy. DeJounte Murray is not as talented of an offensive player as Trae Young. The fit between him and Zion is not as clean, but he's bigger. He's better defensively. And I think an underrated factor here is DeJounte Murray has a really good contract. The Pelicans, they're one of 2 teams in the NBA that never paid the luxury tax. They're just not going to shell out for a ton in payroll. And DeJounte Murray's on a pretty good contract. Trae Young, I think, is making $43 million next year. It's a big number. DeJounte Murray's at like $26 million, something like that.
Christian Clark's our guest, covers the Pelicans for NOLA News and the Advocate. Draft coming up tonight. You mentioned a big with Jonas Valanciunas moving on as potentially as an unrestricted free agent. What traits are they looking for in their center if you're trying to fit pieces around Zion Williamson?
Yeah, I mean, David Griffin has said on the record for more than a year, we want more rim protection. There has been this idea coming from the Pelicans that if they plug in more of a defensively oriented center, someone who can be that backline defender, then that would make all the pieces around them look better. So I think that's something they're going to look at. Like, could they get in on Nick Claxton, who was with the Nets? Like, is there a route where they could get him with a sign and trade? Jared Allen is a guy the Pelicans have loved for a long time. I mean, if he's available, I would expect the Pelicans to make a really hard push. I also think there's an alternate pathway where they could get creative. Like the Houston Rockets, for example, had the number 3 pick. They could take Donovan Clingan conceivably. Could the Pelicans go in a different direction and make a push for like Alperen Şengün, a guy who's like a borderline all-star, young center, kind of an offensive hub? So I do think there's that second door that's like a possibility. It might be remote, but I think the most likely outcome is just someone in that rim protector mold.
Obviously, the Pelicans do have a first-round selection tonight in the draft at number 21. Any idea what they're looking for there?
Yeah, I mean, you look at all the mock drafts. All the reputable people are connecting the Pelicans to Yves Missi, one-and-done kid from Baylor. Raised in Cameroon from a basketball family. His brother played at Harvard. His parents are on the Cameroonian national team. He's a really athletic center. The way he's kind of been described to me, I think the Pelicans' interest in him is real. He's a little like Jackson Hayes in terms of he finishes lobs, he can block shots, but I don't know how to put this kindly, but a little more serious about basketball, right? I think that was the main problem with the Jackson Hayes thing. He's just kind of unserious. He's 19 when the Pelicans drafted him. So that's how Yves Missi's interest has been described to me. The idea of Jackson Hayes, but somebody with his head screwed on straight, basically. I think that Isaiah Collier is a potential option for the Pelicans at 21. He was a top-rated player in his high school class, went to USC, and had an okay year. He hurt his hand. There's a lot of stuff going on in USC in terms of coaching. So I think that's a guy they'll give a look. And then I got a sleeper name for you, Baylor Shireman, 5-year college player, started at South Dakota State. South Dakota State, finished it at Creighton. Just a wing who can really shoot the ball and is kind of crafty. There's questions about the athleticism, but the guy can really shoot and is just a really smart player. So those are my 3 guys I'm really keeping an eye on going into tonight.
Whether it's one of those 3 guys or someone else, what's the realistic chance that the 21st pick in this draft is a key piece to New Orleans next season?
Yeah, not very high.
Yeah.
I mean, you just look at go look at the first round of last year's draft, and this is just true year after year after year. I mean, it's very rare for anybody to get a guy and he is contributing to winning. Like I look at Jordan Hawkins. I love some of the flashes I saw from Jordan Hawkins. I'm still very high on Jordan Hawkins as a player, and he's some really nice moments. But when you just look at all the advanced stuff for Jordan Hawkins, the on-off, it wasn't great. I know fans like the grumble of, well, why is Willie Green playing Jose Alvarado over Jordan Hawkins? It's well, they often win the minutes with Jose Alvarado on the floor, and more often than not, they're losing the minutes with Jordan Hawkins, and that's no disrespect to him. It's just really hard when you're 19 or 20 years old to contribute to winning in the NBA.
Sure is. Enjoy the draft tonight, Christian. We really appreciate the time.
All right, man. Appreciate it.
Christian Clark, Pelicans beat writer for NOLA.com and the Advocate NOLA News. Pels picking 21st tonight. We'll see if they decide to make that pick, move some things around with Brandon Ingram on the trading block. A lot of things that could happen over the next few days, and we'll certainly keep you abreast of all of it here on the Hunt Palmer Show. We got one segment left to go. Step aside for a timeout, come back and play Take It or Leave It right here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Visit LeBear's Baton Rouge Casino this summer for exciting live sports action. We've got the biggest screens around, and ESPN Bet is live in Louisiana. Plus, Penn Play Rewards members can win up to $500 in Penn cash every single week. Visit PennPlaySports.com/cover5 today and register for your chance to play and win. Not a member? Get the Penn Play app today. LeBear's Baton Rouge Casino, your live sports headquarters. Bring your crew for all the action. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 877-770-STOP.
Get the 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge app powered by Bayou Ford and tap the microphone icon to send us your thoughts in an audio message. Your message could be played on air during Off the Bench with Esther and T-Bob, The Hunt Palmer Show, and after further review with Matt Moscone.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency.
Sandgriff, join us for the Thursday edition of Live at Lunch from Jolie Pearl, Oyster Bar, and Town Square Pizza. Both Dwayne Colucci and Randy McKay join the show tomorrow, and we'll take a look back at what happened in the NBA draft. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. Thursday on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Closing up shop here on a Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Half the work week in the rearview mirror. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Been a busy show. We've had a lot to talk about, and I'm still fascinated by what's going on over in the state of Texas right now, and we'll see what the next 72 hours hold in the transfer portal, because I think it's going to be really, really fascinating stuff between A&M hiring a coach. What are all of A&M's players going to end up doing? Does LSU pick up any? Do they follow Jim Schlossnagle to Austin? What do the players from Texas end up doing? There's just so many unknowns at this point, and it's maybe not everybody's favorite aspect of college athletics at this current juncture, but for us in the content game, it's a lot of good stuff. So we'll keep you abreast on everything that's going on with all of that. For now, let's close things up a little. Take it or leave it, Beck.
All righty, first one here. The U.S. will get it done tomorrow night against Panama in the Copa America. Take it or leave it.
I have some questions.
Okay.
Why is this called the Copa America?
That's the name of the tournament, Hunt.
Why isn't it the American Cup?
Because this tournament is typically played between teams in South America, but for this specific tournament, they're hosting it. The U.S. are hosting it, so...
Guess what? We get to name it. It's the American Cup.
Okay.
That's what we're going to do.
Okay. So what do you think is going to happen in the American Cup?
Well, look, I got to break this game down. They're playing Panama. It sounds like a team we've lost to recently. Is that correct?
Well, actually, yes. We did lose to them last year.
That's great work. Okay. Awesome. So in this game, I mean, crucial. Get your spacing right. Got to play ball control. Have to control your touches. Cannot turn the ball over, especially at the midfield. The guys have got to make quick decisions. Got to be accurate and decisive with their touches. No question about that. I trust our speed in the front. I trust our physicality in the back. I like our goaltender. So I feel good about
that's hockey.
What do we call him? Just a goalie?
Goalkeeper.
Keeper. Goaltender in hockey, goalkeeper in soccer.
There you go.
And look, here's the thing. You can't trust the officials. They could be throwing red cards. You get some PKs. It could be tough. So we can't have that.
Sounds very similar to your analysis of the first game.
Well, look, let's be very honest. It all comes down to just a few things when you're talking about the most beautiful game in the world, the match on the pitch.
It is the most beautiful game in the world.
It's not.
It is.
Hester was going on and on, whacking poetic this morning.
Yep.
Sounded like a dork, Hester.
No, actually, I think you're the dork, Hunt.
Look, against Panama, if you can't beat Panama, then just throw the jerseys away and disband the program.
I agree with you, Hunt. They need to win.
What's the problem? What's the score going to be? You're going.
I'm going. They're going to win. I'm going to say they're going to win 2-1.
What does one wear to the match on the pitch? Do you got a jersey you're rocking?
I have a jersey.
Is it Josie Altidor's jersey?
No, it's a current player that you've never heard of. You don't know any of the
Christian
Pulisic.
Pulisic.
It is not him, actually.
It is Alexi Lawless.
He doesn't.
Freddie Adu!
No, they don't play anymore.
How old is Freddie Adu? He was like 12 when he started playing.
He's like 45 now.
No, he was like 15 when he started playing.
All right, let me look it up, actually.
You got to look that up because, I mean, he was like the phenom. He was going to be the greatest who ever lived.
He is 35.
He's my age.
Yeah.
Get him out there. He
Might
can still
be
beat.
42.
He should be able to play and beat Panama.
Yeah, he probably should.
What's the spread? Jimmy's got to have a number on this. Are we like 3.5 goal favorites?
No, they're not. I think I think the U.S. are. Let's see.
Is this game significant in any way?
Yes, because if they draw this game, then they will need to get most likely will need to get a win in their final game against Uruguay, who are one of the best teams in the tournament.
No, they're not.
They are.
Uruguay?
Actually. They are really good, Hunt. They're really good, Hunt.
Name me one good Uruguayan athlete of all time.
They're all soccer players, so you won't know who any of them are.
Terrible.
Okay.
Dominate them. Come on, Stars and Stripes.
The U.S. are minus 280.
All right, I'll be locked in.
Yep.
I'll be locked into that game. The match on the pitch. I hope we just absolutely crush the Panamanians.
I agree.
They got a great canal, but I don't think they're good at soccer.
Yep, I agree with you there. Moving on, no players in this year's NBA draft will make an all-NBA team. Take it or leave it.
I'll leave it. Somebody's got to be good, but they're telling me they all stink. I mean, that is the inference that this is the worst draft ever. So I don't even. I'll be quite honest. I don't know who the Hawks are supposed to take at 1.
It is supposed to be a French player.
Okay.
His name is I don't know if I'm saying this right, but Zachary Rissachier.
Zachary Rissachier?
Maybe. Yeah, something like that.
Sounds like he'll fit right in.
He's
Atlanta
6'9",
in the ATL.
195.
Oh, that's a little skinny.
A tall, lanky European player. So we'll see if his game will translate. Also, another French player. So the ESPN has their best available. Their top 2 players are French guys. The other one is a 7', 220 Alex Sarr. Has a 9'2" standing reach, so he'll probably be might be a Rudy Gobert 2.0, if you will.
Just hope he doesn't spread the virus around the entire world.
Yeah, hopefully not. Yeah. And Donovan Clingan from UConn.
Yes, he's good. I know him.
He is the 3rd ranked player, which is kind of surprising because he was good at UConn, but the 3rd best player in the draft. I'm not sure about that.
He didn't ooze 3rd pick in the draft.
Reed Shepherd, the 4th
like Carmelo highest. Reed Shepherd's gonna be the 4th pick in the draft.
Reed Shepherd is the 4th ranked player by ESPN. Hunt. I watched him. I watched him play LSU, and he looked pretty good. But 4th,
he's a
player,
great college
lottery
player,
pick.
but I'm not ready
sure
for him
about
to
that.
strap it on against the Jazz. So that's a lot. All right, what do we got?
All right, next one. The Brooklyn Nets now have 16 first-round picks in the next 7 drafts, having a ton of picks and no good players. Take it or leave it.
I'm gonna leave it. I mean, how many of those picks do we think they're gonna make? Like
maybe 7 or 8.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna
probably
package like they got 5 in a trade today. 5 first rounders. Like, what are you gonna do with that? The NBA's kind of jumped the shark with all the pick manipulation and swapping and all that kind of stuff and all the contracts. It's a lot to deal with. 16 first rounders in the next 7 drafts. That's a significant amount.
It
so
is.
I don't know that they're doing things great there. But shout out, I know that Cam Thomas is there. Is Watford still there?
That's a good question.
Or is he in Portland?
Yeah, I think he was at Portland, but I'm not sure where he's at now.
I thought he went either way.
Yeah.
Go Tigers.
All right, last one here. The Cubs suck. Take it or leave it. I'll take it.
It's tough. I think you're going to have to take it.
I'll take it. They're at minus 25 run differential right now.
They're in last place. They're 10 games out of first place.
Yep.
That is devastating. They've had quality starting pitching all year. They cannot hit a lick. Their bullpen is atrocious. And I don't know if Jed Hoyer is going to be able to survive this. They're so bad in a bad division. They should be good. I can't blame the ownership for not spending money. They went and got Dansby Swanson. They went and got Seiya Suzuki. They went and got Shota Imanaga. They've signed some free agents. They've drafted pretty well and gotten some trades, but those guys haven't gotten up yet. They're terrible. I thought they would win the division this year. I thought they were absolutely ready to win the division. They would have been in the playoffs last year if not for a massive collapse in the last 3 weeks. It was miserable every night to watch. And they're just miserable in the summer by now. Yeah. I mean, they're just bad.
The only solace I think we can take in how bad they've been so far is that, one, they started the season really well, which means we know that they can play at a high level.
I'm not ruling them out. They're not dead.
No. And also, number 2, they're only 4 games out of the wild card. So their chances of winning the division are not great because the Brewers look really good. And
the Brewers didn't even try this year. They traded their 2 aces.
They did, but they've still got really good pitching. And their offense is playing better. So
disgusting.
It's not great. Not a great situation, but like I said, they've got a good chance in the wild card. So the season's not over, but they do seem to not be playing well right now.
Got to win 8 out of 10 somehow.
Yep.
Somehow, some way. I don't know that it's going to happen. Shout out Cal Hendricks. Got the 10 years of
the professor
5 months of service, so he gets some extra pension stuff.
Yeah.
He should because he's a legend.
Yeah, and he had a horrible start to the season, but he's came back now. Was in the bullpen and has started really well his last 2 games. So.
Kyle Hendricks, best pitcher none of you people that listen to me have ever heard of.
Probably
that is the case. All right, that's it for a Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. We started things off with Jim Schlossnagle going to Texas and my reaction to all that. Plus, who can LSU target in the transfer portal from Texas A&M? I had some thoughts on that, as well as a What If Wednesday earlier today. LSU baseball summer snapshot. What are some guys doing up in Cape Cod? Matthew Bruni is with us at the top of hour number 2, talking about LSU's basketball recruiting from a high school perspective. Some big-time names that Matt McMahon continues to bring in for visits. Christian Clark from NOLA News was talking about the Pels with us in the last segment. Missed any of it? Catch it on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on-demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, wherever you find your sound. That's going to do it for us here on this Wednesday. Matt's going to drive you home for the last time in a little bit. I'm back tomorrow, same time, same place. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
Farming is a way of life for us. It's not something we get up in the morning and dread going do. It's just something we go to bed at night looking forward to getting up to go do. John Deere equipment is what we as farmers strive to have. It's in your blood, it's in your veins. It's just a part of who you are. Green is what we want to be.